Hello everyone, and welcome back. Last year, we took a look at 3 stories, but this time, we'll be looking at 4 stories. Now without further ado, let's get started. Long ago, on the Northeastern Railway, there was a class of tender engine being built called the NER-S3, nicknamed the B-16 by the LNER. There was only one engine who was painted in LNER green. This engine was known as 944. She didn't have a name, just a number. She was a very hard worker and always did what she could to help others in need, even her own siblings. But one night, things took a turn for the worst. She was pulling a passenger train to a station when suddenly she felt a horrible pain in her boiler. The water pressure began to get overloaded. And before long, boom! Her boiler exploded, making the train come to a sudden stop. Most of the passengers were injured, some were dead, but some survived. The survived passengers were taken away. They were not hurt. The injured passengers were taken to the hospital, and the dead passengers were just left there. But what about 944? Well, she now roams the rails of where her boiler exploded, looking for peace. Long ago, there was an engine. He didn't have a name or a number. He was an experimental engine. He had the boiler and spoilers of an A1 and the cylinder of an A1 and had the driving wheels of an O2. He was painted blue with white lining. He was very idiotic and caused a lot of trouble. One day, he was shunting some trucks very hard and smashing them into the buffers. The big engines were angry and wanted to tell the controller, but the idiotic engine threatened them if they told them he'd make them pay. The 2 big engines didn't say a word at all. But they knew they had to say something. One day, one of the big engines was waiting at a signal with a goods train, when suddenly, and without warning, another engine pulling another goods train careened into the back of his train. There was an awful noise as gravel, coal, and fuel went everywhere. The big engine was in shock. "You derailed my goods train, you psychopath!" he called. But the idiotic engine didn't care. He just laughed. The controller came and, seeing the mess, sent the engine for scrap. If the controller had only listened, then he wouldn't have been scrapped. Long ago, on a faraway railway, there was a blue engine named Peter. He was a cocky, rude, and boastful engine. Peter was a bad influence, you could say. His twin brother Kyle was quite the opposite. The big engines liked Kyle for his cheerful persona and wise manners, but they despised Peter for his rude and arrogant attitude. They wanted nothing more than for Peter to get what he deserved. Little did they know that the chance would come sooner than expected. Peter was pushing a train of trucks down the line. He didn't realize there were some fuel tankers in front of him. When Peter saw it, it was too late. He slammed on his brakes, but the trucks pulled him along and smashed into the fuel tankers, and they exploded. Peter was no more. When the big engines found out, all they said was, "Good riddance." Peter still roams the rails to this very day, looking for someone to get revenge on. Long ago, on the Festeniog Railway, there was a new class of engine being experimented on called the Double Fairley. One of these Double Fairleys was painted blue. Their names were Daniel and Donella. They were the siblings of Mighty Mac and Little Giant. Well, one of them anyway. Daniel was kind, wise, and always cheerful, but he mainly kept to himself. Donella, on the other hand, was shy and quiet, but still cheerful. They worked very well together. One day, in 1903, they were sent to a quarry. The quarry was an empty place, but the rails had just finished being built. The two engines were very happy that they would finally get a chance to work on their own line. As the years went by, more engines came to get the stone from the quarry. Daniel Donella was very proud of their work. And made very good friends with the engines. One of them being a K3 from the Furness Railway, named Alex. Actually, his name was Will. Will was an old, wise soul who wanted nothing more than to make anyone happy. He was very good friends with the Double Fairley. But one day, things took a turn for the worst. As Daniel Donella was shunting trucks, there was a sudden flash of lightning, and Daniel came off the rails and rolled towards a fuel pump. He shut his eyes, but it was too late. Daniel Donella crashed into the fuel pump, and it exploded, taking them with it. The manager was very depressed when he found out, and he had no choice but to shut down the quarry. Now, the Double Fairley roams the rails, looking for peace together. And that's it for the Ghost Engines 2. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time on the next video. Until I see you again, good night.